What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Today is going to be a shorter video. This is something that I was pondering a little bit recently when I was doing a video about Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, and I decided this deserves its own video. And I don't want to put this out and people be thinking, oh, look at this guy who has 800 subscribers on YouTube and he thinks he knows more about Batman than people who write about him for a living. I don't want people to think that I know more than other people. This is just my personal take on Batman. I used to be a huge fan of Batman. He was my favorite DC Comics character. He probably still is, and I still like Batman quite a bit. I just don't read as much Batman as I used to. But a lot of people, I think, tend to write Batman or tend to view Batman as being this hardcore pessimist. He looks at the world and he sees a glass that's half empty. And I don't agree with that interpretation. I think that Batman is made of optimism. Batman is a relentless optimist. You look at all of the horrible stuff that has happened to Batman over the years, and it's a whole lot of stuff. It piles up pretty quickly. You have, obviously, the death of his parents, and then you have Harvey Dent, who was his friend and ally in his war against the forces of evil. He gets turned into a supervillain. And then you have Jason Todd gets murdered, and then he comes back to life and starts murdering other people. And you know that Batman sees that as a failure on his part. Then you have Barbara Gordon getting shot and crippled in the back. Then you have earthquakes and plagues hitting Gotham, all within a very short amount of time. You have his back getting broken, and you know that that kind of took a toll on him mentally. And then you have him finding out that he has a son, and his son is an assassin. And then he watches his son die. And of course, his son does come back to life, but that's still a lot of horrible stuff that happens to Batman over the course of a relatively short amount of time. That's something that Grant Morrison kind of played with when he was first starting his lengthy run on Batman, where he was saying all of this stuff happens in the span of like 10 years or less, and so that's going to take its toll on a person. And I look at that and I say, Batman is an optimist because he looks at all this horrible stuff that happens to him and he gets up every night and he still keeps going. He doesn't let this all take its toll, and he doesn't stop and say, I'm not going to do this anymore. If Batman was as much of a pessimist as people like to think that he is, I don't think that he would keep doing what he does. Now, obviously, he keeps doing what he does because if he stops having adventures, then DC Comics is going to stop making money off of Batman. That's the real reason that he keeps getting up every night and doing what he does. But I like to think that maybe he does have a little bit of optimism in him. A lot of people like to compare him to Superman and say, well, Superman is all smiles and happy time, and he's optimism, and Batman, he's all frowns and grumpy, and he's pessimism. And I don't think it's quite as black and white as that. I think that Batman is an optimist. If he wasn't, I don't think that he would have kept going for 10 to 15 years in his ongoing crusade against evil. I think he would have given up a long time ago if his worldview was as negative as people like to paint him as. So those are my very brief thoughts on Batman today. I hope that you guys liked this video. If you did, be sure to stick around, and I'll do more videos in the future. In the meantime, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.